blessed full moon, blessed blood moon in Virgo. We are going to gather tonight to talk about what's going on in the cosmos, including this total lunar eclipse. So I welcome you in to this virtual full moon circle tonight. If you are catching the recording, I do want to take a moment to introduce myself in case this is your first time joining one of my transmissions. My name is Vina Lene Rachel. I am a moon priestess. I'm an intuitive. I'm a medium. My spiritual name, Vina, means channeler of the divine. And I have been channeling messages through these moon circles, hosting live moon circles digitally for about 8 or 9 years at this point. And I try to show up to every single new and full moon when I can in this 13 Moons membership at the time of this transmission. So I have hosted moon circles in Zoom and on Facebook and on YouTube and on Instagram. And now I have landed here in my own digital astrology and magic membership, 13 Moons. And this is where the live transmission is coming tonight. And of course, we have members from 13 Moons here live. So welcome if you're joining the live moon circle. But if you are catching the recording, I also welcome you in. Tonight, we are going to talk about this total lunar eclipse in Virgo, making this full moon a blood moon. We'll also talk about how this moon is also known as the worm moon or crow moon. And we'll touch base on the Vedic astrology of this moon being in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra. This is also the moon that is celebrating Holi in India. And we have some other important cosmic transits that we'll talk about tonight, including some of the retrogrades that are happening with this Passean lunar cycle. And yes, the lunar cycle is ruled by Pisces right now, but this particular full moon happens to be in Virgo, which is Pisces opposite on the zodiac wheel. So before we get officially started tonight, I do want to start with just taking 3 deep breaths. I always do this to help us ground in, especially when we have a full moon and all of this prana is heightened, gravity is pulling us up to the moon. It helps to just take a few breaths to find the present. So wherever you are, find a nice tall spine. Maybe you're seated, maybe you're standing, but wherever you are, sit nice and tall. Receive a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, like a gentle sigh. Just let everything go. Maybe shake up the body, let go of any tension, ground in a little bit deeper. And when you're ready, we're going to do this again. Deep breath in through the nose, maybe out through the mouth with some sound. Just vibrating those vocal cords, turning on the vagus nerve, activating our parasympathetic nervous system, helping us to be more focused and present. And in case you need to open up just a little bit more, maybe on this last breath, you reach your arms out, away, overhead. Take that deep inhale and release it. As you let those arms fall down and you get here now, because it might be hard to be here in the present right now. Full moons make us anxious. They make our mind overthink. They make our energy more heightened, and we can even be restless in our body. When we have a full moon in Virgo, Virgo being an earth sign, we start to feel our earthly human body even more. So you might have some discomforts tonight that distract you. You might have some feelings moving through that distract you. The human experience can really be felt and illuminated underneath this full moon. So wherever you're navigating right now, I invite you to be comfortable for this next hour or so that we'll be together. So if you're live here in the 13 Moons membership, we're probably going to go a little over the hour because we do those personal tarot card readings for all members. And we're going to do a breathwork practice tonight, a little bit of guided meditation as well. But if you're here catching the replay, we'll probably be together for about 45 to 60 minutes. So So you might want to have something to drink just to keep you hydrated. Of course, make yourself comfortable. Maybe get in a space where you don't have a lot of distractions or noise to pull you away. Maybe you want to have something to write with, just to record anything that comes through. But of course, this recording is also available for you to replay as much as you need to. Now, if you're in 13 moons, you'll get the full length unedited recording. But if you're catching the replay, just know that this is an edited version in the recording where we take out some of those things that the members of 13 moons get in their exclusive live transmission. Okay, so if you are live and you feel like you need to share anything in the chat tonight, please do so. If you have any questions about this moon, about the eclipse, if you have anything that you're feeling that you would like to bring voice to, feel free to do that in the chat. I'll be checking in with that periodically to see if I need to answer anything there. I want to start by talking about an eclipse, talking about a full moon, talking about what all of that means in case you are new to tuning in to the moon. First off, when we have a full moon, we have the earth in the middle, the full moon on one side, the sun on the other, and the sun is reflecting off of the moon onto the earth. And that's why the moon lights up. That's why we can see it right now. Now, every so often, the positioning of the earth is just so where that the sun disappears and comes back with its reflection on the moon. Now, the moon will not disappear, but the shadow that the sun creates as it's moving through this specific angle opposite of the moon will create what looks like a reddish tint to the moon. Oh, and that's why we call it a blood moon. It actually looks like the moon is bleeding. It's going to have the white, and then it's going to transform more to kind of like an orange reddish color, and then it'll go back to the white again. Now, in the culture of mythology around the Greek goddess Inanna, which is related to Venus. We also talk about a little bit of a shedding that happens. And weirdly, the Venus retrograde tends to happen around the same time as this eclipse time that we get. And so right now, if you read maybe the story of Inanna going into the underworld, shedding everything that isn't of her core essence, her core being, letting go of her jewelry, letting go of her crown, letting go of her robes, letting go of everything that she is, even hanging her body on a hook at the bottom in the depths of the pits of hell to really let go of the body even and liberate the soul. This is the same process that we're going through right now as we experience this eclipse. There is going to be a shedding emotionally, a shedding of feelings that we're navigating right now, maybe a letting go of a previous version of ourselves that no longer serves, letting go of relationships that no longer serve, attachments that no longer serve, so that we come out a better version of ourselves. We're lighter, we're less burdened, and we're ready to go forward into whatever is to come with a little bit more freedom, with a little bit more openness. And this is all connected, right? It's not just the openness of the energy, it's the openness of the body, it's the openness of the mind, it's the openness of the heart. And that is what we are navigating with this eclipse. So I always relate it to Venus because, yes, there is this relationship where Venus's journey from morning star behind the sun to evening star, or vice versa, evening star behind a morning star. It always seems to happen kind of around the eclipse season. And so we can use that mythology or story of Inanna to kind of think about the energy of the eclipse itself. Now, also, when we have an eclipse, what's really happening is there's these polarities of the moon, the north and the south node. And right now, we're at such an angle that the south node of the moon is what's exactly oppositional of the moon. And that's what's, of the sun. And that's what's causing this shadow. And this is what's considered a lunar eclipse. And it's a total lunar eclipse because it's going to completely cast over and come back, that shadow of the the sun. Now, there are also partial lunar eclipses that happen, but right now we are in a total eclipse. The blood moon can also be related to Venus because Venus is related to the womb and to the menstrual cycle. There's a bit of a shedding that happens. But if you look at Vedic astrology and their perspective of eclipses, they look at this north and south node as the head and tail of a snake. And that tail of the snake, called K2, is what is essentially eating the sun right now. And as it eats the sun, or the sun eats it, or however you want to look at that, there's a shedding process happening right now. And we are letting go at the very tail end of anything that we need to finally release. Eclipses are like portals. They remind me of these portals that we can go through to fast forward our evolution, to get a little closer to where we're trying to get sooner. But we have to make the choice to go through the portal. And usually there's a transformative process of shedding and letting go in order to go through that portal and become this new person. Eclipses are also known to be very karmic. Their energy reminds us that life is short, that there are big lessons we've learned that we need to integrate, that there are big things ready to happen for us, but we have to seize them. And maybe go back and just think about primal times, caveman times, right? When we didn't know anything about the moon, and we didn't have all this science and technology, when we didn't have the history of patterns to observe. How would you feel if all of a sudden this full moon that had you very active at night, you were probably out hunting or gathering, maybe you were doing some sort of celebration or ritual, but you're out underneath this full moon, maybe you're mating, but you all of a sudden see this moon go completely red. And sometimes the redness lasts. For this particular moon, it's going to last for 66 minutes. So we're going to have, or sorry, not 66 minutes. It's going to add 66 minutes. Sorry, 1 hour and 6 minutes. And that whole totality, the moon's going to be fairly red depending on where you're viewing it from the world. We won't see it all over the world as a full blood moon, but in some places we will. But imagine that happening, because eclipses, total eclipses, lunar or solar, we don't experience very many of those in our lifetime because they're in all parts of the world. We might experience one or maybe two, maybe three in our lifetime. So take yourself back to caveman times. You're observing the moon. All of a sudden it goes blood red. You're going to be a little uncertain about that. You might think that the world is ending. You might think that something apocalyptic is about to happen. There might be a curse. You don't know what's going on. But in your primitive mind, you know that you need to go into almost like a survival mode and prioritize what is important in that moment. And that's exactly the same type of feeling that we navigate even now in modern times. We still have this caveman brain. We still have parts of our brain that are primal, and anytime we have an eclipse, lunar or solar, we have a bit of a reset with our energy and a reconsideration of our lives. This moon is going to want you to think about your past. We are experiencing an eclipsed moon with a Pisces sun in a Pisces lunar cycle. Pisces energy wants us to reflect. It's the waters, right? It wants us to go deep, like the ocean. It wants us to really look back deep into our history and think about how far we've come. Think about the challenges that we've experienced victory over. Think about all of the wonderful people that have come into our lives and what we've gained out of those relationships. Even the ones that maybe caused strain or tension in the end. Even those relationships that are no longer serving your life, or maybe you parted ways with those people in a kind of tense way. Still, there was a lesson learned, there was growth experienced. All of these so-called failures that you've navigated in your past life, can you look look back at those with the lessons that you learned, with the redirections that you took, with how it made you better as a person now. It's time to think about our lives, to think about how short our lives really are, to think about how much value we have gained in our life, and to think about where we want our life to go from here. Do we want to keep the same people in our lives? Do we want to keep going in the same direction? Do we want to work on the same dreams? Maybe even those dreams that we started working on with Lunar New Year or the beginning of 2025. It might be a time to shift with this eclipse or with just the weeks to come. We're not only experiencing an eclipse right now with the full moon, but in 2 weeks, we'll also experience a partial solar eclipse with the new moon. And this eclipse season is giving us the opportunity to decide what we really want to focus on in 2025. Who do we want coming with us as we create this next version of ourself and we build our dream life? Virgo energy, which is what this moon is illuminating, highlights practicality. Virgo energy wants us to really think about our time and how it's organized. How do we divide up our day and where do we exchange our energy? Do we spend too much time on our phones or on our TVs? Or do we spend too much time with other people that we shouldn't? Do we focus on projects that maybe are no longer serving or maybe wasting our time? Virgo full moons want us to get back into more structure so that we are really focused on what's important and what serves our more greater good. Virgo energy also wants you to get your life together, to have a little bit of a reality check, to think about the places and the people that maybe have an ideology with you that seems like it has potential, but it doesn't seem to be playing out. Now is the time to maybe shift that. There's also a lot of crossroads and opportunities that you could come to during this time, because anytime we experience an eclipse, no matter what signs it's coming into, it will give us an opportunity to make choice. Sometimes it's a big shakeup and we have no control over the shakeup, but we have to make a choice. Sometimes we have more control over what's happening, but we still have a decision to be made. Do we want to stay on the path where we are, or do we want to take a different direction? Now, speaking of direction, I do want to make our circle just a little bit more sacred right now by bringing in the elements of the 5 directions. This is something I do with every circle just to give you some suggested tools that you might want to work with during this time. I also want to mention that a full moon can be felt about 48 hours before and after its peak. This eclipse will peak tonight at 1:26 a.m. Central Time and go to 2:32 a.m. Central Time. Even if you are tuning into this replay the next day or 2 days later or 3 days later, you're still going to feel the energy of this moon, because when we experience an eclipsed moon, we usually feel the energy for up to 5 days or so before and after the peak. So all of these tools I'm suggesting tonight, you can work with for up to 5 days, 7 days after this full moon, or really for the next 2 weeks until you find yourself with the new moon in Aries on March 28th and 29th. So for now, let's start with our earth element and some suggested crystals and gemstones that you might want to work with. The first one is selenite, because this is a master crystal that helps to charge our energy. And I'm just going to hold that up close so you get a little bit of that shine on there. The selenite wand here that I'm using, I'm also going to use this to open up our circle. But for now, know that you can use any type of selenite to charge your crystals, to charge your water, to charge yourself, to charge up your tarot decks. It is a stone that doesn't need to be be charged by the moon. This full moon, being an eclipse moon, might not be a moon that you set your crystals and your other tools out under, because eclipse energy has the power to wipe the programming clean. So anything that has been programmed into your crystals, if it is working for you in a positive way, you don't want to erase that. So you don't want to set those crystals out underneath the moon. Now, with that being said, if you do have a crystal that's maybe not working for you as well, or a deck of cards, or just some sort of tool, pendulum, anything that's not really working as strongly as it should, you might want to set that out under an eclipse just to help reset it and give it a fresh, clean slate. I suggest working with selenite because it can charge those crystals, the water, whatever you need when you can't set it out underneath the moon. Now, in addition to selenite, I have a black moonstone sphere here, very eclipse-like. Now, it's not red like a blood moon, but this black moonstone does remind us of that darkness of the moon that we experience during a total lunar eclipse. Black moonstone helps us with release. It helps us with trusting the karmic shifts that we're going through, and it grounds in our energy. Another great stone to help you with grounding right now is bloodstone, which connects you to your root chakra. Now, bloodstone is not red, it's actually green, but it has little bitty specks of red in it. And I don't know if you can see that with the reflection here, but this stone connects us to our bloodline. It connects us to generational karma if we need to shift that or heal that. It connects us to our root programming, because right now this moon is encouraging us to figure out what is ours and what isn't. What have we set as behaviors, patterns, standards, our personality that is of us and our core being? And what are we doing that may have been programmed into us from somebody else? When we work with bloodstone, we help to eliminate any patterns in our bloodline or in the development of our energy body that do not serve us anymore. This is a blood moon. You want to think about your history as well as the history of your family. I also suggest working maybe with crystal skulls right now, because they help us to sort things out in our mind. They provide us with more clarity. They help us to have deep insights and integrate wisdom and lessons that we've learned. This moon, being an eclipsed moon, being very karmic, being in this Pisces lunar cycle, wants us to look back into our history, look at everything we've learned, and not just reflect on it, but really bring it into our life and help us to move forward and evolve, help us to be a better person based on what we've experienced. Finally, if you're dealing with deep letting go of a version of yourself, of patterns and behaviors and habits, maybe you're detaching from a specific relationship, maybe you're going through grief of some sort right now, I would suggest working with obsidian. Now, I have this here in a smudging spray, but this is rainbow obsidian. I'm going to get really close. I don't know if you're going to see it, but I'm going to rotate around to see if you get any of the rainbow shine. There we go, a little bit right there. If you look into it, you're going to see some rainbow shine on these black stones. So this is rainbow obsidian, also known as Apache's tears. It helps us with grief. It helps us with separation. It helps us with deep, deep release. Full moons are always about letting go. Totally eclipsed full moons are about letting go of deep things in our history and letting go of things for good. So moving on to our fire and water elements combined. I do not have a specific fire here present in our circle tonight. We are, of course, experiencing the solar fire of this total eclipse, but I have brought in the element of fire through using essential oils in the smudging spray, because essential oils are collected with steam distillation. We need that heat, we need that fire. And then, of course, we have the water element because that's what comes off of the plant matter. Also, when we use essential oils, we're getting into the earth element because of the plants collected. We're getting into the air element because we're smelling this oil. We're using aromatherapy. And we get into the fifth element, the ether, because we're working on levels of frequency here. This is a smudging spray of just Spanish sage. I highly suggest working with sage right now, whether you are smudging your spaces, smudging your house, smudging your energetic aura. These are all great things to do right now to help clear the energy. Also, you can use Spanish sage as an oil, throw it in your diffuser, put it in a boiling little hot pot on your stove. Maybe just make a spray out of it, spray it all over your house. But I'm going to do this now. I'm going to shake this up because the rattle gets rid of the negative energies. And I'm doing that in a counterclockwise direction, by the way, around you, around me. And then I'm just going to give a little spritz to the tech, to you, to me, and clear out the air. So that's our air element as well. We also took those deep breaths in the beginning to bring in the air element. And finally, we have the ether, the fifth element, which is the frequency that we're connecting with, the digital spaces, the ether. I love working in the digital world with moon circles because the energy goes beyond space and time. If you're viewing the replay, the energy is just as strong. In fact, the energy gets stronger over time the more people that view this transmission. Also, if you are in a different space, of course you are, you're not here in my house with me, you're still getting the energy, the frequency of this oil and this obsidian, the frequency of all of these crystals and gemstones. Everything that comes in tonight, you're receiving that as well. So I would like to take this. Oh, wait, there's a couple of other oils. Sorry, really quick. I do want to suggest maybe working with clary sage right now, just to provide more clarity. Simply, like the crystal skulls help you work with the mind, clary sage will also help you to work with the mind and find deep insights and wisdom. You also may want to work with geranium right now. Geranium helps you with shifts in relationships. I'm going to talk about this in a moment, but Venus is coming deeply into play with this moon, which is why I mentioned her in the beginning. But Venus also controls our relationships, platonic and romantic and family. So all of these relationships, all of these energetic exchanges are impacted right now. And if you're dealing with shifts in relationship, geranium can help you to navigate those shifts with a little bit more ease. Okay, I'm going to take this selenite wand. I'm going to bring it up and around in a clockwise direction just to bring in more of a circle. And I'm going to take a moment to welcome in our guides and guardians of the 5 directions. I want to start by welcoming in the guides and guardians of the East with their element of air, helping us to take deep breaths as we navigate this shaky eclipse season, helping to remind us that every exhale helps with release and every inhale welcomes in new beginnings. We trust the process. We breathe through it, and we thank the guides and guardians of the East with their air for being in our circle. We also invite in the guides and guardians of the South with their element of fire, burning strongly right now with this total lunar eclipse, creating this blood moon with the solar shadows. We know that fire represents transformation as well as discipline. And so we utilize the energy of fire to show up to ourselves in our fullest truth and honesty. And we thank the guides and guardians of the South with their fire for being in our circle. We also invite in the guides and guardians of the West with their element of water. We are in a Pisces lunar cycle. We have a Pisces stellium coming into play with this moon. There is a lot of feeling and emotion running through us. There is a reflection of time flowing from past into present into future. We ride the waves of change with ease. We trust in the process by remaining gratefully present. And we thank the guides and guardians of the West with their water for being in our circle. We invite in the guides and guardians of the North with their earth elements, all of these magical crystals, gemstones, plant matter, and other tools that we work with. We invite in the ancestral wisdom that might need to be here in our circle tonight. We look back on our bloodline. We reflect on generational karma, and we work to heal anything that we need to redirect now. We thank the guides and guardians of the North with their earth for being in our circle. Finally, we invite in the guides and guardians of the fifth element, the ether, the Akash, the all that ever was and all that ever will be. Deities, angels, archangels, source energy, source consciousness. We invite it in to serve us in whatever way it needs to serve. We invite in the messages that we need to receive. And we thank the guides and guardians of the fifth element for being in our circle. With that, our circle is a little bit more sacred and sealed. If there's anything here that you'd like to put in the chat, if you're live, feel free to place that in there now. Also, if you're grabbing the replay and you want to put something in the comments, feel free to do that. There's nothing stopping you. I do go back and answer all of those comments in the future. I'm going to kick over here. And sorry if you see my finger. I do want to see the chat real quick. We're looking good. Okay. So let's go back to Venus. Let's talk a little bit about our neighboring planet, the planet of love, the planet of worthiness and pleasure and creativity and fertility, the planet of yin that has been encouraging us for months to relax through winter, to stay soft, to rest, to listen to our body, to listen to what speaks to us from maybe outside of ourselves. And right now, Venus is retrograde. Venus is spinning backwards, making her voyage from morning star into evening star, which is a different energy. And she's not there yet. She's working to work backwards behind the sun for now. And as she goes backwards, which she's been doing since March 1st, and she'll continue to do until April 12th, we are reminded to turn within and really look at all of the relationships in our lives. So, all of our friendships, our romantic relationships, past and present. Same with the friendships, past and present. Maybe relationships with family members. And we're asking when it comes to the people that we relate to, who is still worth our time and our energy? Who is worth our energetic exchange? Who reciprocates the giving, the listening, the holding space just as much as you dish it out? Because when we have Venus retrograde, not only are we looking at these relationships with others, but we're also looking at the relationship with ourself. And if you do not have good relationship with others, if you let people take advantage of you, if you let people be energy vampires and suck you dry emotionally, if you let people use and abuse you, I guarantee that you do not have a healthy relationship with yourself. You're not taking care of yourself the way that you should. You're not listening to your body when it talks to you. You're not paying attention when your spirit tries to move through you and guide you in a certain way. So, as much as you are tending to the relationships and the external, maybe also tend to the relationship with yourself right now. Virgo is a sign that's a little bit more selfish. Virgo wants to tend to the self. They're the cosmic perfectionist. They want to look good and feel good and operate accordingly. They want to always be in flow. They want to have optimized efficiency. But in order to live your life in flow and with peace and ease, you have to feel good. Physically, you have to be well. Emotionally, you have to be stable. Mentally, you have to be in control. So we tend to ourself underneath this total lunar eclipse in Virgo so that all of our relationships butterfly effect out. How we treat ourselves is how we will let others treat us. Use this full moon to spend time with yourself. Maybe you do a little bit of mirror work. Maybe you just spend time in meditation. Maybe you rest and initiate more practices of self-care right now. This is a time to be gentle with yourself as well. Maybe not necessarily doing shadow work or healing work, but a little bit of emotional alchemy. Can you look back at your past with gratitude and love, no matter what happened, no matter who did what to you? Maybe can you also look back at your own patterns, behaviors, the things that you've done that are a little cringe in your past? Can you still love yourself? Can you still accept yourself? In Vedic astrology, this moon is in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, and it's represented by marriage, commitment, contracts, a little bit integration of the whole self. This is also a moon that celebrates Holi, which is the festival of colors. It's a return to spring, a return to light after the darkness, the demons, the shadows of ourselves, or the darkness of winter. It's a beautiful love story of masculine and feminine coming together. When we view that in addition to the Virgo side of things on Western, from the Western perspective with Western astrology, this moon is about accepting our whole self. Virgo is related to the word virgin, but the word virgin wasn't always related to sexuality or celibacy. It was related to people who were whole unto themselves. They did not need a partner. They could not be persuaded. They were very set in their ways, in their beliefs, and they didn't need external influence. They didn't need to change. And so we are learning under this moon to integrate our whole self, our masculine side, our feminine side, our yin, our yang, our shadow, our light, our cringe self and our winning self, our failures and our victories. We have to learn to love it all and have gratitude for it all and have acceptance for it all, because it's all part of us. It's all part of who we are. It's all part of our life. It's all part of our soul contract. I mentioned that this moon is very karmic. This is a year that we are deciding where to go. It's a 9 year. It's a number of rebirth. It's a number of endings and beginnings. We might be writing a new chapter. We might be writing a new book altogether. But this full moon, this eclipsed moon, is asking us who we want to come along for the ride with us, because we have this Venus retrograde along with the moon. So who do you want to come with you in your future? Who supports you? Who holds space for you? Who believes in your dreams? Who wants to see you succeed? Those are your pack. Those are your tribe. Those are your members of your family, whether they're blood or not. We also have Mercury going retrograde tomorrow, one day after this moon. And with this moon, bringing in not only a Venus retrograde, but a Mercury retrograde, our two closest neighboring planets with a faster orbit than ours. We are heavily influenced to slow down and reassess. Retrogrades always get a bad rep, but they don't have to. They're a time for us to take sacred pause. We can't always be going and doing. We have to stop and do a little audit every once in a while and make sure we're on the right path. Mercury goes retrograde 3 to 4 times a year, reminding us to get back to our truth, to get back to an honest reality check of where we're going and what we're doing. Mercury affects our ability to exchange energy. It affects travel. It affects trade. It affects communication. It affects how we express ourselves. And when we have Mercury going retrograde at the same time as a total lunar eclipse, we are being asked to be very careful right now. Remember, from Vedic perspective, this is the star of contracts. We want to be careful about what we agree to during this time because it will carry over 2 to 3 years from now or more. In my own personal life, I've had a huge shakeup in my plans. I had a plan, I was going a certain direction. There's been an unexpected shakeup to the plan. I'm still not even sure where the plan is going now. It might still be going in the same direction, or I might have another choice. But even in the same direction, it's going to be same but different. I wish I could talk in more detail, but I can't. But with that, with all of that happening, I also know that now is not the time to make the decision. Now is the time to get back to the truth of myself and what I want, who I want to be, what I want to do, what I want to create, and be able to express that fully with action when the time comes, once Mercury goes direct and Venus goes direct. By the way, Mercury goes direct on April 7th. So between April 7th and April 12th, we'll have Mercury and Venus going direct again, and we'll be able to make change a little bit easier. But for now, ask yourself, what is in your heart of heart's desire? What is in your deep-seated core of who you are that's trying to come out? Is there somewhere you want to go? Is there something you want to study? Is there some sort of new path you want to take? Is there a person you want to get to know better? These are the questions that you can ask yourself right now. And by the way, journaling can be really powerful during this time because Virgo energy loves to write things down, make lists, make reflection, plan ahead, but also just journaling can be really powerful. And also, because we have this moon being in an eclipse, it wants us to reflect, it wants us to look back. Mercury is all about communication and expression as well. So journaling helps us to go more within and see what comes through. Finally, we have what's called a Graha Yuddha right now between Venus and Mercury from an Eastern perspective, which means there's a bit of a planetary war between the qualities of these two celestial bodies. So Venus is overtaking Mercury, Mercury is overtaking Venus, which means that when it comes to expression, there's a little bit of struggle about deciding who we are and what we really want. When it comes to matters of the heart, we might struggle to really commit to staying on a path that supports our heart or supports our soul's purpose. There's a little bit of a battle between worthiness and feeling worthy to work on our harmony of health and wellness. So, the best thing that you can do right now underneath this moon is to simply be still and listen. Listen to your body and how it talks to you. What feels off physically? Maybe ask yourself, is there something emotionally attached there, energetically related? Is there a history with that place in your body? Is there some sort of trauma? Can you also listen to the messages that come through right now? Can you spend more time in meditation, listening to what speaks to you that's either of you or the external? Can you call on your guides, your guardians, your angels, and your ancestors and ask them to speak to you? And can you really listen? I'm going to share something super personal. I don't think I'm going to get emotional about it. I am going to take a drink of water though before I do. Today's been an emotional day. I got some sun today, so I'm a little red because I got out in nature for a few hours today because I needed to spend time out getting some fresh air and getting amongst the trees, and took my kid out to go play with a friend out at a local state park. And the reason that I needed all of that is because I found out last night that a client of mine passed away. And I've worked with this client for 9 years. And she's not just a client. I hate calling these people in my life clients. I mean, that's what they were in the beginning, but they're friends. They're soul contracts. And this person, she was a soul contract with me, and it for multiple reasons. And I could talk about it, but I'm not going to. But I kind of knew that maybe this was going to happen. There's been a sickness playing out for just like a little bit. And I kind of knew in my heart of hearts that maybe this would happen. Um, but when I found out she crossed over last night, that wasn't easy. And this Venus retrograde combined with Mercury retrograde combined with a total lunar eclipse is causing us to detach very quickly from people and places and things. And a lot of it is out of our control. And it might bring about some confusion or uncertainty, or maybe just a little bit of a like, why, universe? Why? Like, why am I experiencing this other shakeup in this other part of my life? Why am I losing this client, this friend? Why? Right? But I know that things happen for whatever reason. I trust the process. I trust the process of this person detaching from my life and their choice to detach from their own life, for their spirit to decide it was time to move on. But one of the things that I've been trying to do today is to listen to whatever comes through. I have talked out loud to her. I am a medium. I mentioned that in the beginning. I do feel like she has spoken to me, like in her own way. It's hard for me when I first lose somebody close to trust the voice. Um, I had a good friend who's on this transmission tonight say that I think she's going to be reaching out to you very soon. And it was in hindsight tonight as I was teaching yoga class that I realized that, oh, I'm going to get emotional, that she spoke to me. She had a frog tattoo on her ankle, and she loved frogs. And I remember the first time I ever did Reiki on her, I saw her frog tattoo. And it was a very specific type of frog that for some reason I've always just really been into. And I used to draw a lot in art competitions, this very specific type of frog. And I thought, I even said to her, wow, it's so weird that you have this frog. I used to draw this type of frog in art competitions. And she was like, oh, yeah, I just really love frogs. I just love like how they transform from tadpole to frog. So last night, I'm going somewhere with this. This is what our moon circles are about. They're about sharing and community and holding space. And I want to share this with you. Not last night. Sorry, I apologize. Not last night, the night before. I was watching this nature show with my son, and we were watching the life cycle of a tadpole go into a frog. And I was thinking about my client who's been sick, who's in the hospital, who's going through a battle. And I was just thinking about her. And then she passes the next night. I actually woke up at the time that she was passing last night, which is crazy. I go out to the state park today. I just feel like all I need to do is go be out in nature, take some fresh breaths, like just get out there, right? When I parked the car and I got out of the car, I could hear hundreds, if not thousands, of frogs in the background. And it's the middle of the day. And I know we're building up to an eclipse and it makes nature act a little weird, but the frogs, they weren't near the water where I was. They were behind me, in the water behind me, and there was hills and grass and woods and everything in between. And I didn't think anything of it at the time. I just heard all these frogs and I was like, oh, look at all those frogs. I love that. And I just kept hearing them. And it was just so peaceful to me to be around those frogs. And tonight, when I was in meditation, I was thinking about that frog tattoo on her ankle. And I realized that she was speaking to me through the frogs. I've been really sad all day. Because I've been sad. I lost a friend, right? And we're in Pisces season and it's going to make us emotional. But the universe has ways of speaking to us if we can just slow down. Just slow down and listen. And sometimes the signs that come, we don't realize they're signs until later. But if we slow down and we reflect and we meditate on it and we really think about it, we see the deeper meaning in it all. And it's a simple thing like sometimes hearing a bunch of frogs croak, or seeing a butterfly, or staring at the moon and hearing some message from deep within your heart. But this moon is about taking sacred pause to slow down and listen to whatever you need to hear, to whatever you need to receive. I also believe that this beautiful soul that has now passed on is just in my corner right now, helping me find answers to something that I've been trying to find answers to for a while. I was having doubts. I've been going down a path of seeking answers, and I had reached out to somebody for help during this previous lunar um, energy, because this previous moon, the new moon, was all about finding the people that you need and the help that you need. And so I reached out to somebody for some help with something, and they never got back to me. And I was feeling very discouraged just this week about it all. And I was even talking about it yesterday to a friend, and how I felt like maybe I'm going to have to go a different direction still. I thought this person was going to be the person, and I don't know if they are. And that person messaged me today. I'm so sorry I missed your message. I thought I got back to you. Yes, let's figure this out. And I cannot help but feel like this beautiful soul and friend of mine that has passed on pushed that person to reach out to me and message me today and help me. So, yeah, there's my little personal story for this moon, just to encourage you to slow down and to listen. Do some intuitive journaling and see what comes through. Do some meditation. Ask for messages to come through in your dreams. Ask your ancestors to meet you in your dreams. Ask for a sign from your guides, your guardians, your angels, your archangels, your guardian angels, whatever you want to call them. Ask for a sign that they're here. Ask them to help you, to speak to you. Ask for it and listen. And I promise you, you're going to get some sort of clarity around all of the confusion with this shaky eclipse season and this total blood moon. Really quick, going back to the Vedic side of things, Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra is also represented by the back legs of a bed or a hammock. This is a moon that wants us to seek out peace, ease, leisure, rest, relaxation, restoration, rejuvenation, etc., etc. Take care of yourself. Help yourself feel good. I was sad this morning. I knew that getting out in nature would help me feel better. I also know that my kid is a very empathetic little being. And I was very honest with him today and said, Mommy is sad today. Mommy had a friend die last night and she is very sad. And I want to do some things to help me feel happy. So let's go get out in nature. Let's go have you go play with a friend. I'm going to go hang out with your friend's mom, who's my friend. And we're going to have a good day. And we're going to try to find the happiness in today. And I work to make myself feel a little better. But I followed my intuition and my guide to ask myself, what do I need? What's my medicine right now to help me heal my heart? And it really did help me. And then I got those beautiful frogs out there, which also helped me. So have peace, have ease, do what you can to make yourself feel good, do what you can to make yourself find more peace, ease, and relaxation, and let yourself transition from this end of winter into spring with flow, with trusting the process, with knowing that everything really does happen for a reason. I want to move on to our tarot reading. We are coming up on the hour here, and I always do a tarot reading or card reading for the new moon and full moon. I did do a tarot reading this time around, and I'll start with our past card. For the past, I pulled the Three of Cups. Believe it or not, this is a card of celebration. We're supposed to celebrate our past right now. And that is the message of this moon. When we experience a full moon in a Pisces lunar cycle, we are asked to reflect on our past and let it all weave into our future. We are to celebrate our past. We are to hold emotional alchemy and find the treasures of gold in even the darkness, the depths, the muck. We find the lotus blooming out of it. So this is a time to slow down, to view all of your wins, your victories, your yays, your aha moments every time you've been uplifted, but also maybe to look at the other stuff and find where you can surround that with love and light and joy and gratitude and celebration as well. Because what we do right now is extremely karmic. Venus is related to our emotions. Venus is retrograde, asking us to look within and work on our emotional stability, emotional alchemy. And it's happening during this total eclipsed moon, where everything we do sets a standard moving forward for the unforeseeable future, but at least the next 2 to 3 years. So if we can find an attitude of gratitude and celebration right now for everything we've been through, then we will continue to be given things to celebrate and get excited about in our future. Also, this is transformation. It's the number 3. It is a process of unbecoming and rebecoming a new version of ourselves, where maybe we don't let thoughts that previously weighed us down do so anymore, where we don't let certain patterns or emotions rule us in the same way. Notice the green and pink on the card. These are heart chakra colors. Right now, we're viewing everything through the heart lens with love and acceptance and non-judgment and unconditionality. So do your best to embrace that with everything you're reflecting on and everything that you navigate right now. As sad as I was as I was, as sad as I am right now, navigating the grief of losing this friend in my life, one of the things that I'm celebrating, I'm not only, I'm celebrating the relationship, I'm celebrating her life. That's what we do when people pass. We have a celebration of life. Oh, I'm celebrating her. But I'm also celebrating the fact that I was able to speak with her a couple of weeks ago, because I was not able to go see her before she passed. But I was able to speak to her on the phone. And before we got off the phone, I told her that I loved her, just very casually. Okay, I love you. And I could tell that it kind of caught her off guard, because it's not like I tell her I love her all the time. At the end of the day, she was a client as well. Um, but it caught her off guard a little bit, and I heard her kind of say in a stutter, like, "Oh, I love you too." And that's how we ended our conversation. So our last words to each other were, "I love you." And that is worth celebrating, because love is that heart energy, right? And I'm sorry if you're just catching the tarot reading and you haven't seen the rest of this circle. You might want to go back and view my full moon circle where I just talked about this whole thing. But yeah, we can celebrate. We can celebrate all of those things. I mean, gosh, I think about even when I lost my father 13 years ago, one of the things that I celebrated was the very last time that we had a conversation with each other. It was voice to voice, and it was telling each other that we loved each other. So tell your people in your life that you love them. Tell the people in your life that are important to you that you love them, because I think that this Venus retrograde is also really reminding us of the people that are important to us right now. And if we have people in our lives that have passed, maybe we can look back at all we gained, um, not in a selfish way, but in a loving way, in a grateful way, all that we gained from those relationships as well. So, Three of Cups, celebrate your past, celebrate even the grief, celebrate it all. It's all part of this human experience that we've been blessed with. Whew, okay, present card. If I could have not pulled a more appropriate card, I pulled the moon in reverse. We are in a total lunar eclipse. We are in a blood moon. The full moon is going to shine, pull back, and shine again. And that's definitely a reversed moon card. Also, notice how we have the Pisces symbol on this card. This is the full moon that we are experiencing during a Pisces lunar cycle. And our Pisces new moon was not eclipsed, even though we are moving into the Pisces Virgo eclipse series now. We still have a little bit of lingering energy with Aries that's going to play out, but then we'll shift fully into this Pisces Virgo eclipse series for the next couple of years. I also notice the crayfish on the card, which does to me represent Venus energy. Crayfish have deep relationships with their mates as well as lobsters. You ever heard of like somebody being their lobster, their committed lover for life? Venus is asking us, who do we want to come along for the long ride with us? Who do we want bringing? Who do we want to bring into this new life that we're creating? But also know that this is like long-term relationship, long-term friendships, long-term commitments. This is a moon that is under the star of patronage, the star of commitments. It's an Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra from Vedic perspective. And this is a moon that is ruled by Aryaman, which is one of the Adityas who is involved in contracts. And we also have Mercury going retrograde one day after this moon, which helps us to analyze and reassess our contracts with people, our energetic exchanges, how we trade energy. Is it reciprocated or not? The card here is very symmetrical. We have the two castles on each side, the two flowers on each side. It's very mirror image. So as we reflect on these relationships in our life right now, can we also see if the energy is being reflected back in an equal way? Are we being loved the way we love? Are we being friended the way that we friend? Are we having space held as much as we hold space? All of these things are going to come into question right now. And there may be some people that you need to let go of right now. There might be some other relationships with energetic exchanges. Maybe it's with your phone or social media. Maybe it's some sort of addictive substance. There's a lot of different things that we can have a relationship with in addition to exchanging with people. But this full moon is a time of release. It's a time of deep release. It's a time of ultimate release. And this is a time to let go of what is not serving your evolution. I also can't help but notice the 18 on the card, which breaks down to the number 9. 1 plus 8 is 9. 2025 is also a 9 year. 2 plus 2 plus 5 is 9. So I think that this card is a protection message because it's in reverse. It's preparing us for this true rest of the year ahead. And it's reminding us to create the life we want by starting to make the choices now that set it up. The people that we need in our life, the paths that we need to take, the things that we need to exchange energy with every day, the practices and the rituals and routines that we need to show up to. That's all going to play out right now and set standards for our future. For our future card, I got another 9 card, this time the actual 9, the 9 of Swords, also in reverse. This is again a protection message. And when we pull the 9 of Swords in reverse, it is about our thought process. It's about decision making. It's about the way that we allow our belief systems to form. And we could be experiencing a lot of despair right now. All of these swords, it might feel like, we're at battle everywhere we go. Maybe we feel like we're fighting a losing war. Maybe we feel like there's boundaries that we cannot push through right now, changes that we can't quite make, fences that we can't knock down, but it's all in our head. This card reminds us that it's all in our head. We're in control. We decide. And I love how on this card, the swords are pointing up and they're kind of breaking through that red square. They're breaking through the barrier. This eclipsed moon is about shifting our karma. It's about thinking differently. It's about redirecting our behaviors. And it's about letting go of old programming that doesn't serve. Because we might have programming in us that's generational, that's from our family, but not of us. And as we move forward with this blood moon coming into play right now, we might need to shift things in our bloodline, change our ways there just as much as we do in our own just personal life. So allow yourself to move beyond your current foundation and your current core belief systems. Allow yourself to be more open-minded, open-hearted. We have this pink around the card again, reminding us to maybe open up a little bit more and start viewing things with our heart. And with that airiness, we'll feel lighter. We'll feel like we have less battle to fight. We'll feel like we're able to make change with more ease. And also we'll be able to set our standards and express ourselves in a certain way without so much worry about how the effects are going to take place afterward. I think a lot of times we worry about expressing when we have changed our beliefs, our way of living, our pursuits, because we're creatures of habit, and stability, consistency, all of those things show that you're more put together. This is a full moon in Virgo, the cosmic perfectionist. But if we can learn to break out of that thought process and maybe let ourselves be a hot mess time to time, maybe let ourselves shift to an entirely different opinion or an entirely different way of living, and do it without apology and just be like, this is change, this is evolution, this is how things happen, then it'll be accepted. This is a 9 year, this is a 9 card. This is a time for us to allow ourselves to make change without needing to explain it to others. And just trust that those that are going to come along for the ride and support us along the way, those are our people. And the other ones are just going to kind of fall off. There's going to be some severance. Swords are about cutting ties, but hopefully it will all happen with a little bit more peace and ease because the heart is fueling the change. I love these cards for our eclipsed moon. This is a powerful, powerful portal that we are navigating right now. Take advantage of the lunar energy. It can really help you to write a new story, but you have to be willing to let go of what doesn't belong in those next chapters. And you also have to trust with open heart and open mind that where you're headed into the unknown is where you're supposed to go. This is what I have for you tonight, loves. I am going to be moving forward with our members in 13 moons with a guided meditation, breathwork practice, and of course, we'll do individual tarot card pulls for all members. But if you are here tuning into the replay, I just want to thank you for taking time to be in our circle tonight. Thank you for taking time to tune within to yourself and the messages that are coming through, as well as taking a little bit of sacred pause to see what this moon offers you, because there is a lot to offer. Okay, loves, be mindful as you work with this total lunar eclipse. If you need a reset, get out underneath it, go look at it, set an alarm for the middle of the night. Open up your shades, let all that lunar light come in, reset your house, reset your energy, reset whatever you need. But if you don't need the reset, then shut those curtains, draw those shades, do not go out. Don't even view a video or a picture of the eclipse. I think that that has power too. It's the ether, right? It moves beyond space and time. Just don't worry about it. Just let it be. If you need to reset your tools, if you need to wipe them clean, set them out under the moon, or maybe make some moon water and drink that if you need to reset yourself. But if you don't need to do any of those things, then don't do it. Eclipses are all about how you work with them and how you want to utilize the energy. I had somebody ask me yesterday, what if I'm making a lot of progress in my own life and in like this relationship with somebody, and just like my finances, like everything's going really good, even my body, like I'm healing things, but I have this one thing with this one person that I would like to reset. I'm like, yeah, just get a picture of the two of you together and set it out under the moon. Or if you don't have a picture, write down the two of you and your name together and set it out under the moon. Or if there's some sort of object that holds energy between the two of you, set it out underneath the moon so that energy can be cleared and reset. So we don't have to go all or nothing. We can partially work with this reset and give ourselves a clearing wherever we need it. And then in the other categories of our life where we want things to stay the same, we just keep the lunar energy out of it. So navigate it all as you choose. There's no right or wrong. Trust in whatever you feel called to do because it's part of the process you need to take right now. And we will meet again underneath another eclipsed moon. So the next time we meet will be on the evening of March 28th. It is a Friday. It is the evening before the partial solar eclipse in Aries. And we'll talk a little bit about that energy and how to work with it. If you want to meet up live with me for that transmission, you can join 13 Moons with a free trial. If you go to vinalene.com/store, or if you go to my website, click on store, you can see the different membership options, and all of them come with a free trial. You also get full unedited replays of all of my moon circles and live transmissions. So if you wanted to get the breathwork practice from tonight, the guided meditation that we did with members, you can grab a free trial. You can go back and view the replay of this circle as well, and any other previous circles too. My membership includes intuitive journaling prompts for the new and full moons. It gives you guidance on what crystals, gemstones, essential oils, and other tools to work with. It gives you suggested magical practices to work with depending on what moon we're navigating, and just a whole lot of other astrological guidance. So if you're into astrology, you want to know all about it, then 13 Moons is a really good way to dive deep and get all of that information in a really easy, accessible, palm of your hand format, smartphone friendly. Okay, I'm going to check this chat one final time and just make sure that we are good. We are good. Okay. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you for holding space for me to express my feelings and my truth, navigating this crazy lunar eclipse. I am not going to release our guides and guardians. I did this as well with the new moon in Pisces that we began this cycle with. I think that Pisces lunar cycles are a time to really be with our guides, our guardians, our angels, our archangels, our deities, whatever we connect to. This is the time to connect to it and to not ignore it. And I promise you, if any energy doesn't need to be here, it won't be here. It'll leave you. If it doesn't need to be with you, it will leave you. But if you leave yourself open to inviting everything in that does serve you, I promise that these next 2 weeks can be really, really magical for you. You can receive a lot to help you figure out what to do and where to go from here. So until we meet again underneath the new moon in Aries, may your guides and guardians be with you. May you have a blessed rest of this lunar cycle. May you have a blessed full blood moon. May it serve you to your greatest potential. And Loka Somasta Sukino Bhavantu, may we all be happy. May we all be healthy and well. May we all feel safe and know peace. May we all feel loved, be loved, love one another, and may our actions, our behaviors, and our thoughts contribute to the happiness, the health, the wellness, the safety, the peace, and the love of all. And so it is, and so it already is, and so it mote be. Until we meet again, blessed be.